The prize was Iran's oil fields. The 1953 coup had its roots with a British showdown with Iran, especially after the nationalization of Iran's oil industry. The coup was initially engineered by Britain, but was carried out mainly by the United States.
Britain and the US had the same level of involvement in the coup. Operation Ajax was the American term, while the British plan was called Operation Boot. But both followed the same goal of toppling the Mosaddeq government.
As much as $5 million were spent buying support from senior officials, military officers, newspaper editors, and thugs. The plot was based on an order apparently signed by the US-backed Shah to dismiss Mosaddeq as the democratically elected Prime Minister of Iran and replace him with General Fazlullah Zahedi, a choice agreed on by the British and Americans.
The point is that it wasn't the ordinary people of Iran who took to the streets against Mosaddeq. Those who came out were on the SIS or CIA's payroll. Ordinary people never turned up to overthrow the popularly elected government of Prime Minister Mohammad Mosaddeq.
According to New York Times, in 1954, Donald Wilber, one of the operation's chief planners, in a 200-page document, revealed the British-US involvement in the coup. Part of the document shows that Britain came up with the idea for the coup and pressed the US to mount a joint operation to remove the Prime Minister. They covertly funneled $5 million to General Zahedi's regime 2 days after the coup prevailed. By staging the bombing of one cleric's home, they tried to turn the country's Islamic religious community against Mossaddeq's government. Fearful of risking his throne, the Shah repeatedly refused to sign CIA written royal decrees to change the government. Finally, Donald Wilber forged the Shah's signature. The extent of the US role in Mossaddeq's overthrow was not formally acknowledged for many years, although the Eisenhower administration was vocal in its opposition to the policies of the ousted Iranian Prime Minister. Many years later, in 2000, finally, the former U.S. Secretary of State Madeleine Albright let the cat out of the bag and confessed to the U.S. role in the 1953 coup against Mohammad Mosaddeq in Iran. The overthrow of the elected government of Mohammad Mosaddeq by the U.S. served as a rallying point in anti-U.S. protests during the 1979 Iranian Revolution, the impact of which still exists on the minds of Iranians. Although Iranians did not consider the statement by the former U.S. Secretary of State as an apology, the world heard the confessions of the government, which brought the dictator back to power. Saman Kujuri, Press TV, Tehran.